Welcome to VidComm Pod 3A.
Hi, my name's Mark. I'm one of the pastors here at Trillium. You might be able to hear people behind me. There's a practice going on for our vacation Bible camp, which starts tomorrow. It's Sonforce. And in a sense, I'm in a command module. I'm part of a satellite going around the earth. I'm part of VidComm for communications. And I get a chance to speak to you from this situation. I really am excited about our vacation Bible camp and what it has the opportunity to teach kids. I was reading an article in the paper recently about a guy named Rick Nelson who got into a boxing duel with a bear just north of Sudbury. He was out with his dog walking on a trail, and all of a sudden, right on the trail, a little bear cub pokes its head out. And Nelson said the bear cub's only about 3 feet away, could reach out and touch the cub. And he knew instantly that he was in a heap of trouble because where a bear cub is, their mother bear isn't far behind. And the little bear cub yelps out, and he can hear the mother bear come trundling through the woods towards him, and she comes onto the trail, and there's just no space between him and the cub. And the mother bear goes on her hind legs, and she raises up her paws, and she's towering over Nelson. And Nelson has no way of defending himself, so being a trained boxer, he gets in a little boxing duel with the bear. And he takes a swipe at her, and he accidentally grazes his knuckles against her teeth, and he cuts them up pretty bad. And then he says this, he says, Nelson readied himself to take another swing at the bear. I knew it would swing first with its left, but it would really come with its right, because most bears are right-handed. I'm just laughing. Like he's sitting there scoping out the bear for a boxing duel, and exactly what happens. And he's able to get an undercut, and he nails the bear right on the snout. And the blood starts gushing out, and he knows in that moment that he's in for some real heap of trouble. And then all of a sudden, the bear cub kind of journeys off. The bear cub scoots away, and the mother bear's looking at him. And he knows in that moment it's the do or die sort of thing. And he says, he braced himself. It turned around, it was snorting blood. It looked at me, and I thought, oh no, here it comes. It just turned back around and walked away like nothing ever happened and followed the cub. So I really lucked out there. And then he says this, he was quick to acknowledge, however, that his close call could easily have turned out very differently. I'm really glad that the bear walked away. I'm really glad I did too. I just love that story. You know, that's a perfect illustration of what I've been talking about over the last few weeks, about how violence is always an extension of conflict, which is an extension of rivalry. Rivalry comes from some shared desire between people. In this case, Mother Bear wanted Nelson's spot. He was on her spot. She wants to be between her cub and the world. And there's no space between Nelson and the cub. She wants the spot he's on, and they become rivals in the moment. And they duke it out for a time, and then all of a sudden, the spot moves. The bear cub drifts back into the woods, and the spot moves with the bear cub, and then there's no need for rivalry between the mother bear and Nelson, and it all ends. And he's alive to talk about it. You know, so often in life we find ourselves in the same spot as someone else, and we don't know what to do in that moment. And it's so critical for us to have the awareness to realize that the key is moving the spot. And sometimes that means us moving off the spot we think is so important, so that the spot can move to someone else, or moving the spot in a different direction. And it doesn't have to be a physical thing. It can be an emotional thing. It can be a spiritual thing. It can happen in so many different ways, but the spot moves. And if we don't know how to move the spot, at the very least, we have to know how to walk away from the situation, to fall back and regroup. You know, there's a lot of tragedy down in the States with cops getting shot and shooting people. I think about that story in Minnesota, Philando Castile. You know, the police officers come up, and ultimately it escalates into a confrontation, and he's shot, and he dies. And it's all filmed by his girlfriend on the inside of the car, and it's a tragedy. And I think it all stems from the fact that the police officer, whatever unnerved him, and he wasn't a bad guy, I'm sure he wasn't, the police officer just didn't know how to walk away for a moment, to fall back and regroup. If something unnerves him, it's important that all police officers sometimes fall back and regroup and think it through before they allow their faulty perception to take over and run the show. We learned a story in the Bible today about how faulty perception in a king leads to tragedy for a nation. And we also know about it in our own lives too, how when we allow faulty perception to take control of the situation, it causes us to stay on the spot and escalate what should be something trivial into rivalry, into conflict, and ultimately sometimes violence. Jesus teaches us to move off the spot or to walk away. All his teachings are about that. And it leads to a totally different outcome. It leads to life. Thank goodness for that.